Hello and welcome to Living as Is, and I'm Shah. Awakening is not spiritual in the way you may believe it to be. And before I go losing myself into all of this, let me just break down a couple of words. The word awakening is related to different understandings in life. You can awaken from sleep, which will take place with everyone after they've gone to bed for a rest or found somewhere where they can sleep. An awakening can take place in an understanding such as a religious awakening. In fact, awakening from sleep has been used in many various belief settings where the mind has been viewed as shut off from reality and is asleep to that reality until you awaken from sleep, awakening from the reality you've been locked into. You may even say a phrase, "He will be in for a rude awakening," to say someone will be in for a big shock. In general, awakening is used to represent a stirring from one state to another. Awakening. Now, the spiritual has been locked into beliefs through being seen as religious belief. However, spiritual has also been viewed to match how a person feels, and this is how I mainly relate to being spiritual and feeling spiritual. It's my feeling that for far too long, a control has been taking place over the expression of language, most of the time coming from a controlling culture, society, or religion. Throughout history, I would say this control has come from two aspects. The first being a patriarchal control, and this control then applied into the second, which is religion. This really created an extremely one-sided viewpoint, to the extent I even feel matriarchal control can be very misogynistic. Over time, the phrase spiritual awakening just became the norm as a phrase linking the person that was experiencing the awakening into a path being a spiritual one. But we need to dig a little deeper to see why it's my feeling that awakening is not spiritual in the way you may believe it to be. Sorry, just a moment. My journey in life started as a child, doing, seeing, and behaving in ways that were not the norm. At least, not for a child of 5 years old. By that norm, that would be transmediumship. By not the norm, that would be transmediumship. And seeing how actions would lead to something before those actions were completed. When I say leading to something, it's normally leading to something bad happening before the action was completed. In other words, I was reading people. At 18, my journey into me really started consciously. I wanted to know and understand, how could I do the things I do? How could I see the things I could see? This journey became one of self-understanding. I wasn't looking for enlightenment, let alone awakening. I just wanted to know me, know myself. End of. End of story. Just know me. That was all I was after. Now, I aim to keep this a short journey because I've talked over my past in previous videos, and please do check them out. To keep this brief, my questioning took me into a church, learning laying on of hands, onto the spiritualist church for transmediumship, clairvoyance, mediumship, meditation, and in general, an understanding of the spirit world. From here, we step into Buddhism, deepening of meditation, understanding the world perspective of Buddhism, and how compassion can be viewed. Next, into Advaita Vedanta, more meditation, more undoing of me, and seeing the variety of ways where life can be perceived. And then, kind of in amongst all of this, a little something extra took place. Something that proved to be far more, how can I put this? Something that proved to be far more eye-opening than anything else. At 33 years old, and not realizing at the time, I had PTSD. I sought out my first counselling session and I found it hilarious, really uplifting, helped tremendously. Over the years, I've worked on my PTSD, and then late in life, around 54 years old, I'm diagnosed autistic. All this did was open the door for further research into my life. Around this time, my own awakening was also taking place. The actual door opening was a few years earlier. But here's the kicker. I begin to realize life is spiritual. Let me just emphasize this. Life is spiritual. Pretty much most of my life had been spent in and out of religious, spiritual circles. However, a part of me kept pulling away from this. Then we move forward to the present. Awakening is deepening. The feeling of life expanding and thoughts being presented, or that awakening is one of the most everyday events that can take place. It's every day, providing the individual is ready to remove old and outdated habits, to open all doors that may be required, to accept life as they find it, but most importantly, to listen, not just to themselves, but to those around them as well. What's come to be seen? Everything we learn, everything we take on board, has come from the perspective we have taken on board from life, in life. Now, to really come to awakening, you would need to be ready to adjust those perspectives. When I say adjust, I'm not talking about taking weeks or months to think things over, but to be able to adjust in the moment as you're talking to someone, or as a thought flashes by. Another thing you may need to look at: our beliefs are also our perspectives. As I received counselling, this opened my mind. It opened my mind towards looking at aspects of my life differently. Now, we include the beliefs and philosophies I took on board from understanding the different belief systems I was a part of, I became a part of. Taking in all this information from different areas added to the ever-growing perspective of life that I was developing. I'm not seeing awakening from any religious perspective, because as the mind deepens and information is digested, the perspective seen is more flexible than any singular belief system. This is the same as spiritual. For myself, spiritual is not linked into religious beliefs, but rather feeling and seeing as life, nature, living. Awakening is a growing expansion of mind through the growth and development experienced throughout life. However, even with the right information being taken on, this doesn't necessarily mean awaken will or even can take place. It's my feeling there needs to be a deep wish within to clear blocks, to move yourself forward, and to release what needs to be released. Awakening is not spiritual in the way you may believe it to be, because it may never have been so in the first instance. Awakening, through my understanding, comes from the deepening of self into self through the expanding of mind. This can be gained through philosophy, psychology, counselling, opening self through understanding your life. And while I won't dismiss the assistance that can be given through belief systems, I don't feel awakening is ever solely linked into being a spiritual factor. Awakening, not being spiritual in the way you may believe it to be, is because it is not solidly fixed into being some kind of religious belief setup. If we say life is spiritual, we enter into a really different arena for spiritual, a far more flexible arena than religion has ever shown itself to be. Life is such a mix of perspectives, beliefs, understanding, psychology, intelligence, being, nature, and on, So much more. Life opens the doors for expansion. Life creates space for you to be you. Life breathes as you breathe. It dances as you dance. It cries as you cry. Life feels your pain with you. Is this not truly spiritually being? Does all of this not make awakening what it has always been? Life. Maybe, just maybe, our sole reason for being here, our sole reason to keep being reborn again and again, is to awaken in life, as life, and then live this life as soul intended it to be lived, spiritually. I can't add to that. Live life as soul intended it to be, spiritually. Thank you for listening to the end. So come on in, subscribe, click like, click to be notified of the next video. Come on, subscribe, please do. Thank you again, and blessings to you all. Thank you.